Australia has a new Chief of Defence. Admiral David Johnson is in and General Angus Campbell is out. He's officially stepped down from the role after a rocky 6-year term. And during that time, General Angus Campbell quickly became one of the most divisive figures in the military. He didn't do himself any favours when he tried to strip war medals from all troops who served in Afghanistan because a handful were accused of war crimes. The then Defence Minister Peter Dutton was forced to intervene and he reversed that controversial decision. But now, a medal on General Campbell's chest is being put under the microscope at a new Senate inquiry. He was recommended for the Distinguished Service Cross back in 2011. That's Australia's third highest military decoration. The DSC is awarded for Distinguished Command and Leadership in Action as Commander of Forces in Afghanistan. At the time, the criteria for someone to receive the award required them to be in action, meaning to be under direct fire of an adversary. But out of nowhere, 3 months after General Campbell was recommended to receive the award, the rules were changed. The criteria of being in action was changed to in warlike operations. Senator Malcolm Roberts, who will lead the inquiry, says senior officers have abused the Defence Honours and Awards system. Meanwhile, enlisted personnel have to fight for recognition and higher-ups downgrade their medals. Malcolm Roberts, the Senator from Queensland, with Pauline Hanson's One Nation, is on the line right now. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. What a fabulous summary. Spot on, mate. Accurate.
So what are you suggesting has gone on here?
What I'm suggesting is that these senior officers, the top brass of our Australian Defence Force, are looking at medals as a way of rewarding each other. They just seem to think it's an entitlement that comes with their salary package. But what we're really looking for is some integrity with regard to the way that the rank and file, the serving enlisted soldiers are treated, because they're not getting their medals. And by the way, Ben, I want to thank all ADF people for their service. And I also want to appreciate especially the serving members and veterans who have been working with us to restore accountability over many months in this Australian Defence Force. The pride and respect.
Jump in for a moment and ask you just about General Angus Campbell, because that's going to be the key thing that people will focus on in this inquiry. As I said, when he was recommended, it was for, at the time they said the person who was receiving the award was required to be in action.
Correct. Two-way rifle range.
Thinking, well, hang on a moment, was he in action? Well, yes, he was over there. He was obviously playing a critical role, but the criteria also said you had to be, quote, under direct fire of an adversary, end quote. And that raised a few flags, didn't it, for people in the military thinking, well, does General Campbell fall into that category?
Well, no, he doesn't. He was away from the action. He was in an air-conditioned office several hundred kilometres away and quite safe. So, but what's really galling people is that the same man refuses to remove his own medal after he tried to strip 3,000 people who served in the Special Operations Task Force of their meritorious unit citation because of the Burton inquiry. So if he was in action and he was commanding them, then he should have stripped his own medal. But he kept his medal and tried to strip it from the soldiers who were actually in direct action.
Okay, I just want to stick with this criteria for a moment, and can you just confirm this? So originally it said that you had to be under direct fire
Correct.
of an adversary, and that's when red flags were raised and people were thinking, does he really fall into that category? You say he does not. Then, 3 months after he was recommended to receive the award, the rules were changed and the criteria changed from inaction to in warlike operations. Is that right?
That is correct, Ben. You've said it so well, as I've said before. You've said it so well today. It's perfect.
Okay, so was he in warlike operations?
Well, he was in the Middle East. He was in near Afghanistan, near the theatre of war, but he wasn't actively involved in the war.
Why did they change the criteria?
Probably to justify his medal, because he was awarded the medal incorrectly, is my belief.
Okay, I want you to elaborate on that. You believe that the criteria changed to suit General Angus Campbell.
That's what it looks like, Ben. And that's what a lot of troops are saying. And they're saying that the top brass are getting medals not justified, and they're missing out themselves down in the lower ranks.
And there had been requests. People had asked questions when the criteria was in action. People actually requested some details to say, okay, can General Angus Campbell give us some answers on when he was in action? And there were no answers forthcoming, right?
Correct. He was mute. There was nothing coming.
All right. So will he appear before this inquiry?
That's up to the Senate inquiry to justify. I won't be leading the inquiry. I will be a participating member on it, but it's a standing inquiry, standing committee that's already got 6 members appointed. But I'll be participating in it as an additional participatory member. But that's up to the inquiry, and the Senate inquiry. If they want to call General Campbell, they can force him to come. They can subpoena him if necessary. So the powers are there.
How do you sum up his time leading the Defence Force?
Shambles, mess. The rank and file, the morale in the Australian Defence Forces is atrocious. We've seen some pride and respect for the Australian Defence Force. We need that to be restored. And the troops who are talking to us, and there are many, are saying we're absolutely correct, and that the morale is low, the turnover is high, the recruitment is falling. We have more people leaving than coming to the Australian Defence Force at the moment. We're going backwards in numbers. And so this is a security matter. It's an essential security matter, national security matter, Ben. And
he really lost the dressing room, didn't he, Malcolm Roberts, when he decided to strip war medals from everyone who served in Afghanistan because a handful were accused of war crimes.
Exactly. And the Yamamoto principle from Second World War says that if a crime is committed in theatre of war by a soldier, then everyone up the line is accountable and responsible. What he did was he tried to strip medals from the 3,000 and yet hung on to his own. Yet he was commanding the troops he was stripping medals from.
And if it wasn't for Peter Dutton, who was the minister at the time, they would have lost those medals. Thankfully, he stepped in. And I'm going to be really keen to see what comes out of this inquiry. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Ben. Thank you.
Malcolm Roberts, the Senator for Queensland with Pauline Hanson's One Nation.
Authorised Malcolm Roberts, Brisbane.